Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and these are my first impressions on the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania update. A lot of good, a lot of bad, and a couple of weird. So let's get into it. First off, we have the reworks for Ant-Man and MODOK. I think these are both fantastic reworks for each character. You get brand new skills, you get a brand new feel to these characters, much higher damage, much more flexibility. MODOK has a better leadership now. Ant-Man seems to be squarely in place as a PvE damage-dealing threat, and they're both very, very proc-friendly. In Ant-Man's case, a 3 cancel 4 cancel 5 is a very easy way to get off a high damage burst combo. In MODOK's case, it's a little bit trickier because his 5 and his 4 are both skills you want to do, but I think in much the same way as Ant-Man, you want to do 3 with a slight delay into 4 into 5. And you get lots of stuff raining down. You get lots of lasers and spinning. It's a little bit disorienting, and he does turn the stage black, which is kind of annoying. I don't think that's an intended thing, but it does also, you know, just make his damage insane. Not that the stage changing colors makes his damage insane, just that he also has pretty strong damage for a tier 3 villain at this point in time who is not able to go to level 80/tier 4. Those two uniforms, very, very nice. They also look good visually. I know I gave a lot of shit to the Ant-Man uniform because of how repetitive the design looks, but honestly, the devs made this one stand out, and it actually looks pretty good. Additionally, the guided quest, very, very good stuff here. I can't highlight the full value of the guided quest, but I do want to point out the following things. One, if you want to pick up Ant-Man's uniform regardless of the update, then you can do the Ant-Man guided quest if you already have Black Widow, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Ant-Man, and Captain America at tier 3, because it will essentially save you an extra 150, I believe, crystals or 175 crystals on his uniform. I did that, and because it gave me that 50% discount on the uniform right away. If you don't have all 5 of those characters tier 3, then that's when you get into a more difficult conversation, and considering the pros and cons to someone like Iron Man or someone like Captain America, who at least initially are more tried and true in terms of their value, right? Ant-Man's value is still kind of unknown. Black Widow's values for ABX, ABL, Spider-Man's values for PvP. Ant-Man's value is kind of a question mark. So I point out Ant-Man or Captain America and Iron Man as great options for the guided quest. But the nice thing about Ant-Man, if you already have all the tier 3s, is you can just get an easy discount on a uniform for this month and save yourself a few crystals, which is quite nice. So the guided quest is a really welcome thing. Again, I think the devs should do way more guided quests. I don't think it should be just 1 or 2. I think they should like rotate, have a guided quest maybe every month because players always need to catch up. Speaking of catching up, we catch up with the trailers for Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania by playing the Legendary Battle. And I think this is one of the better Legendary Battles, if not one of the best, simply because of how fun some of the stages are, especially that last stage versus Kang. I'll give you guys a quick little tutorial here because I've already seen quite a few people struggling with this. But basically, Kang has the same mechanic as Mephisto and a couple of other bosses. Once you get into the room versus Kang and you're off to the races, you're going to pop some damage off against him and kick him into this phase where he does this. You're going to want to run behind him. He snaps. You're going to jiggle your mouse or your joystick back and forth. Position yourself behind him. He snaps. Jiggle your joystick back and forth. And then just repeat this one more time. Positioning yourself behind him is just going to make it a little bit slower for him to get this beam off against you. And then you're done. And then you can pop off some damage and basically finish the fight by having him snap again and bring in Cassie and Wasp to save the day. Also, Ant-Man's skills just look so gorgeous. I love all the Ant-Man running through. And yeah, I like his new 4th skill with that massive ant swarm. So yeah, the Legendary Battle is quite fun. Additionally, if you check the upcoming events, they do talk about a new crafting event, Molecular Assembler Craft event. This is awesome. I'll make a dedicated video for this when it's out and you can actually see it. But just to tell you guys right now, because it's not out right now, so you can't like pre-plan for it, but you will acquire these PIM particles by clearing dispatch missions and crafting them. So you can either farm them or craft them or both. And then you can turn those PIM particles into these chests that can drop tier 2 materials. You can also turn them into 2 Titan records, so you can get 2 books, 2 book selectors. You can also turn them into a free basically free mega rank up ticket and tier 2 selector. This is huge for new and returning players to allow you to catch up. I know tier 2s are not what they used to be, but this is still quite nice considering you can then trade tokens in for a mega tier 2 ticket, etc., to further enhance your roster. And then these are the chest items that can be obtained when you open, or when you craft and open that random molecular chest. You can craft this up to 24 times, so you get up to 24 cracks at these rewards, including all 110. We now have 110 4-star artifacts. So there's a slim chance to get an artifact. Obviously, the rarer items have a lower chance, the lesser items have a higher chance, so you're probably going to get mostly, you know, black antimatter, etc. But this is still really nice. I love the crafting events. I always highlight them. I always make a big deal out of them because the devs need to do this more and more. If we have a crafting event with every update, that would be fantastic, chef's kiss. I love that they're starting it with Ant-Man, and hopefully they continue this for updates down the road. Additionally, the pre-update token event shop, which is now live for the next week, has a new item. It's not a huge deal, but it is a 2-star rank up ticket. So this is pretty big for those of you that were using the second tier of tokens, the sort of more valuable tokens that come around in 2 weeks, and you were using 50 of those tokens to get a 2-star rank up ticket. You no longer have to do that. You can now pick up a 4-star, 3-star, and 2-star rank up ticket for free every single month with just the pre-release tokens. And the pre-release tokens are not very valuable compared to the post-release tokens that we get in a couple of weeks that are always branded for the update. Now, I usually just get the Titan record selector myself, but this is really good, especially for players who can either use these to immediately rank up characters or who want to stockpile a few of these so they have basically a bunch of mega rank up tickets that they can then pop off on characters when they need. So this is a really good addition. For those of you wondering, it's already been added to the token event. The upcoming token is going to look like that for Quantumania, and these tokens would be the one that you exchange for the premium card, the mega rank up tickets, the rank up tickets, the mega tier 2 ticket, the Ant-Man icon, etc. So these are traditionally the much more valuable tokens, but they've just increased the value of the pre-event update tokens, which I think is excellent. Soon, I think we should see also the 5- and 6-star tokens added, or tickets added for these tokens. That would obviously make it the nuts at that point, but I think it's really good to give players even more ways to get these tokens for free. Last but not least, the Quantumania coupon code is now active. So if you go to the settings, you go to info, and you click on the Marvel Future Fight coupon, you can redeem it for 100 crystals. That's only available on Android. If you're on iOS, you have to follow a link that they have. It's a link that's always up, and then you have to copy your player ID, which is this long string of characters in the settings info menu, and then it will send 100 crystals to your inbox. So yeah, don't miss the 100 crystals. Easy way to get that. But now we move over into the bad. That was the good. Now here comes the bad. The first bad thing I want to point out is the optional uniforms. They're pretty much terrible for everyone except, I think, MODOK, which is pretty nuts. Ant-Man gets Absorbing Man, Apocalypse, Kingo, Heimdall, and Baron Zemo. Really old, really unused, you know, forgotten meta type uniforms. Pretty bad for Ant-Man, I have to say. Wasp, on the other hand, what does she get? She gets Captain America Phoenix Force, Scream, Chavez, Old Valkyrie, and Deadpool. Old Deadpool. Also quite bad. It's really only MODOK that has good optionals for whatever reason. Elektra, Sif, Warlock, Adam, Hulk, and Captain Britain, Betsy Braddock. So yeah, when you see a tier 4 as part of the uniform optionals, you know it's good. When you see a bunch of uniforms that you don't even recognize from 2019 and 2020, you cringe a little bit inside. So really hate seeing those awful uniform optionals, but it kind of is what it is. Speaking of Wasp, I think her update is and her upgrade is lacking. I don't really think it positions her to become a threat again in PvP, and her support value in PvP I think is just not enough. You know, the debuff is cool and all with the leadership, and the 20% HP is cool, but most characters now that have debuff leads for PvP, like Jean, like Gore, they also have, like Jean doesn't, for example, but Gore does, right? He not only provides you with the debuff immunity, but he gives you the 35% HP. Or if you go with someone like Thanos, for example, not only is he going to give you that debuff lead, but he's also going to give you, when you get debuffed, a 25% increase to attack and defense. That's comparable to what Wasp's leadership is giving you. So in that sense, you know, if you're using villain allies. So in that sense, she really hasn't kept up PvP-wise. They also really didn't give her many PvP skills. Like, she doesn't have iframe ignore, she doesn't have a counterattack, she doesn't have reflect or any of that stuff. So it sort of seems like they positioned Wasp for PvE, which is really weird because there's no way in hell she's going to compete with the likes of Shuri, Kamala, etc., Shadow Shell. There's just way stronger female heroes, and we know sooner or later, you know, Sharon Rogers, etc., are going to get a tier 4, and she'll be even less valuable there. So I feel like they really went the wrong direction with Wasp. I think they should have leaned hard into PvP support. They should have cranked up her passives and really made her more powerful, maybe even made her a hero-only support to try to balance out this very villain-heavy PvP meta that we find ourselves in with Gore, Hulk, Jean, and Carnage. But yeah, the devs did not have that foresight. So for now, I think Wasp is kind of going to be last on a lot of people's lists. Unless you also consider Cassie, who I also consider to be one of the worst, if not the worst aspect of this update. The fact that they're still releasing tier 2 characters in 2023 absolutely blows my mind. This is just completely unacceptable. It's stupid. There's no justification whatsoever, and the devs know this, which is why they've never even tried to justify it. Like, you know it's bad when they've never even tried to communicate to the community, hey guys, this is why we're releasing M'Baku tier 2. This is why we're releasing Cassie tier 2. Of course, there's conspiracy theories, and there's people like, oh, we're going to get a Young Avengers update, or oh, we're going to get Black Panther Part 2, and then we're going to get tier 3 M'Baku, then we're going to get tier 3 Cassie. Listen, guys, at that point, you're just giving the devs more excuses and more bailouts. They just need to stop this shit straight up. It's unacceptable. It's so lame, and it's the worst version of what we ask for, which is we want new characters, right? We do want new characters, but Cassie doesn't count as a new character. Do you want to know why? I know you know why, but just for the sake of the rhetoric and me talking to myself through the camera, she doesn't count as a new character because you don't use her in content that you want to use her in, or that you can use her in. And what are you going to do? You're going to purposely downscale. You're going to purposely hamstring yourself. Oh, let me go use Cassie versus Proxima. I've been beating up Null and Mephisto and all these insane cosmic threats to the universe. I'm gonna downgrade and go fight against Corvus, one of Thanos' generals, instead, just so I can use Cassie. Okay, so why don't you use tier 4 Spider-Man against Corvus? No, I want to use Cassie. See, it sounds so stupid. It's beyond stupid. Oh, I'm gonna use Cassie as a support for speed types. No, you're not. You know you're not. You're gonna use Echo. You're going to use Shuri, you're going to use Wave, you're going to use White Fox, you're going to use so many better supports than this clown. And again, it's not Cassie's fault, it's the devs' fault for completely dropping the ball with this character. This may be the most insulting character they've ever released, especially since it's tied to an MCU project. At least M'Baku has all those crazy support buffs, making him meta for ABX, making him meta for ABL. Cassie has none of that. Literally none. This is a hard L. The last big mistake or bad part of this update that a lot of updates have, unfortunately, but I still want to bring up, is the distinct lack of game mode changes, improvements, upgrades, or reworks. Yes, we got Legendary Battle, and that's a new piece of content, but otherwise, they did literally nothing for all of the rest of the existing content. No upgrades, no polishes, no tweaks, absolutely nothing. And it's this sort of complete ignorance to the rest of the game that makes some of these updates feel dry. You know, you have the guided quest, so there's really something for everyone in this update. That's absolutely true. But if they just went in and tweaked a little bit here and there every update, which I know is not a lot to ask for, and I know doesn't take a very long time, so please don't think and don't get it in your head, the propaganda of the devs working so hard and, oh my God, they don't have time. Brother, they have time. They can do a little bit of tweaking and you know, a little bit of glue here, a little bit of spray there, a little bit of you know, WD-40 to get those joints from squeaking. They can do that stuff, right? But everything's old, everything's creaking, everything's rusted, and they're just like, oh, we're just gonna release 3 uniforms, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? They're just business as usual kind of thing. So yeah, I don't want to make too big a fuss out of it, but at the same time, it doesn't really cost that much for them to make some tweaks here and there. And so we come to the uniform tickets. Now, I'll admit, when I read about this on the patch notes, I was excited. I know a lot of other people in the community were excited. There was a bit of a buzz with players speculating on where we could be seeing uniform tickets. And I do think, to be fair, that in the future, we will see uniform tickets accessible through free-to-play events or given away as logins for things like anniversaries or Black Friday. However, the initial introduction of uniform tickets is through spending money, which I definitely think leaves a bad taste in some players' mouths and is a justifiable reaction to that. So if you take a look over there, we have the Quantumania special loyalty point event. And just like we had for Black Friday, these are special, semi-exclusive, some not exclusive, rewards that you can get through your regular spending. So if you were planning on throwing money at the game for this month, buying a sub or buying some packs, you're going to be getting some additional rewards that you wouldn't otherwise get. That's the framing that I think needs to happen here. Not trying to justify the cost here, because if you do the math, it's about $100 to unlock the 6th tier to get the uniform ticket. However, this is not to reward players who are trying to buy their way to the ticket. This is to reward players who are regular, habitual spenders. That sounds really bad, but then you remember you're playing a mobile game, and most of them, if not all of them, are predicated on finding, habitual spenders, finding habitual gamblers, and exploiting them. So again, if you're the type of player that every month you spend $50 on the game, you spend $100 on the game, you're going to be loving this. You're like, hey, I'm doing my regular spending, and I'm getting extra free shit. For everybody else that wasn't planning on blowing $100 on MFF because they need to buy food, they need to whatever, etc., you're probably kind of irritated. And again, I understand. I think they could have introduced this in a two-pronged approach where they had one that was sort of paywall locked, kind of, and they had one that was sort of event-based where you could compete or you could win whatever, you could, participate to get a uniform ticket. I still think they're going to do that in the future. I do hold hope. I'm sort of cautiously optimistic, or maybe naively optimistic. But yeah, I think for now, that's kind of the reality. And if you want to get a uniform ticket, you have to spend money. This is great for returning whales because they can catch up much more easily. And it's especially great for impatient players who have some money to spend because they don't have to wait for an all uniform sale to buy a uniform. So that's really what this comes down to. It's basically just a free anytime uniform pickup for anything that's not from the very latest update. I like the idea of the uniform ticket. I don't like this execution, but time will tell ultimately how players feel about this in a year or two. If the uniform tickets only appear in these types of spending events, players are just going to forget about it for the most part and think that it's stupid, and it's going to benefit a small number of players. If, however, the devs, in my opinion, correctly integrate this into the game as a very high value item, but something that you can actually farm for, or you can actually exchange token for, like a Mega Tier 2 ticket or something like that, then I do think that the players will warm up to the idea of the uniform tickets, and it will become a more exciting reward that you can get, similar to like a Reforged CTP or type thing. Maybe not Reforged, but like a CTP type thing, because you can basically buy a uniform off sale whenever you want, which is quite a nice feeling to get in a game that otherwise forces you into a lot of monotony and a lot of like rhythms of waiting for sales and waiting for things to happen. So yeah, that's about it for my first impressions of this update. I think it's good, I think it's flawed, and I think I'm really excited to watch Ant-Man this weekend. So yeah, hit me up in the comments down below, let me know what you think. I'm gonna go tier 4 Ant-Man now, baby. Let's go. Thanks for watching, smash the like button, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.